Well, first of all, I can't see anybody at this moment, so I will just say welcome. Many of you, we have corresponded or chatted on the phone or attended one of these webinars before. So welcome back. Good to see you. Some of you are actually new to me, and so that's fun and welcome. But Mary Catherine has just recently returned from Kenya. And in listening to some of her notes from the trip, it was just really exciting. And it just presented an opportunity for us to get it on the calendar and get it out to you as an opportunity. And so we were really excited. I'm excited because this will be the first time that I've actually seen the whole thing all the way through and heard way more of the story of her time there. So I'm, again, really excited. So not to take up any more of her time, Mary Catherine, take it away.
Mary Catherine, you're muted.
Thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
All right, thanks. Sorry. So thanks so much for the living through those technical difficulties. We had some issues, but Connie solved it right in the nick of time. So I'll jump right in. I'm excited to share what I'm calling lighting the way to hope. In this time, particularly, it sometimes feels like the vulnerable in our world have been forgotten or at times even targeted. And as we hear in the news about foreign aid that's cut and U.S. hunger programs like SNAP being removed, and it can feel very dark. And when I went to Kenya, I came back just full of hope and joy. And so while other groups might be closing, I was reassured and excited to know that church world service has been around for 80 years and we're built on a strong foundation. And with God's help, we continue to push forward. We are here to alleviate human suffering and advance justice, and we are continuing to do that. And that brings me great hope. And with your support, we can continue to light the way to hope throughout the world. You are a light to hope through your support. And I hope you'll see that some of the people I met are lighting the way to hope for their communities. So I was there in September, just less than 2 months ago, and I was able to meet with our program participants and see this physical manifestation of hope. And I want to share it with you. So, Connie, if you want to go to the next slide, we we visited a community, our first stop. So we had lots and lots of communities we visited, but our first stop was a place called Pisirwo. It's really hard to pronounce. It's probably not pronounced that way, but it's spelled Pisirwo. So Pisirwo. It's in West Pokot, Kenya. And here, it's some pictures from the area. The women here are leading just transformation in their communities with the support from folks like you and because of church world service and a local partner we have there. The name of the partner is called Young At, and which in the local dialect means care. And so they care for their community. We come alongside them, and thanks to supporters like you. So if you can go to the next slide, when we showed up, we heard this noise as we approached the community, and the people, the women especially, were jumping and dancing and singing. And as we got out of the cars and we didn't know what was going on, and so we just kept dancing and la 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 la, and doing whatever. And this woman came over and wrapped her arms around me, and then next thing I know, she's slipping a skirt over my head and she's putting a shirt on me and tying things around me. And the other women started getting dressed, and they were dressing us in their traditional traditional wear. And so, uh, and Connie, if you could go to the next slide, I'd love for you to go from there. can advance to the next slide, Connie, if you'd like.
Okay, I'm trying.
Just wanted to give you a little taste of the music. There were many, many dances and songs. And this woman here you see with me, her name is Vivian, and she is the leader of the women's group there. I can't even say the Algonquin women's group. And she was just a real powerhouse. She was so full of energy and so smart and so driven. She greeted us. She's the one that dressed me in the skirt. And she shared with us about her community, and she gave us a tour and a presentation about all the transformation that's happening there. So, Connie, if you want to go to the next slide, she shared with us that life in this semi-arid region that's really close to the border of Uganda, the life there has been very demanding. Before Churchville Service and our partner Young Ott began working there back in 2011, the women and the girls walked miles for water every day. Vivian said nutritious food was scarce. She said that she pointed to this tree and she said we would climb to the top of those trees to find the flowers that we could eat at the top of the branches. That was what they had for food for their kids. And she even shared that once a pregnant woman, so desperate to feed her kids, climbed and fell and lost her baby. They would they would eat leaves when there were no other vegetables. Mothers like Vivian did everything that they could to help families, help keep their families healthy. And often they did that without a voice in the household decisions. Back then, well, in general, the men in this culture own all the property, they own all the money, they make all the decisions. And back when we first started working with them, they had all of the voice in their community. Connie, you can go to the next slide. Um, this is just some other folks from a community. These are folks from a community that's just now beginning to work with CWS and to see the difference to look. This is kind of like looking back in time to that 2011 Pasirwo village. You can see when the girls were busy taking care of their siblings and the water access was terrible. And if you can go to the next slide. So water was a real issue for the community of Pasirwo. And so 10 years ago, that began to change. So with the community, Churchville Service installed a sand dam that holds seasonal rains underground. And so basically what happens is there's a seasonal river. It rains a lot once or twice a year. It makes this river that just washes right through the community. And so building this dam, it's just building a wall. The layers of sand will pile up behind the wall, and that sand acts as a natural filter so that the water, as you can just scoop down a little bit, and the water you pull up is cleaned by the sand. Once that dam matures, with layers and layers of sand up to the top, then you can put a spout on the other side of the dam and take out the clean water. And that water is year round. So it stops this one-time river and makes it into a lifelong water source for women close by. You can see in this picture on the left is the very beginning of a sand dam. This one was just built, and the ladies are standing where the sand will eventually build all the way up to the top of the dam. And then you can see in the second and third picture, these are the dam after it matures, and it only takes a couple of weeks of the seasonal rains for the dam to mature. So you can see on the right side of the wall, that's where the women are standing in that first picture. So the sand builds up, and immediately you can scoop into the sand to get water, but within weeks you can tap into the wall and get water on the other side. Very technical. In fact, we found out that this technique that we now have probably 80 of these sand dams across this area. They were all built by CWS, and it was a technique that we brought to Kenya. It was something that we had learned from another area that was similar arid sand location, and so we brought this technique to them. So now that Pasiro has water close by, the girls who used to walk miles for water are now walking to school. And the mothers who were spending hours going to the river now have hours that they can put towards more productive livelihoods and grow their family income. And so once that water was there, We You can actually kind of you can go to the next slide. It's just another picture of folks that walk to water. So now that the community had time for livelihoods, they had to decide where are they going to invest? Like what would be best for us? So if you can go to the next slide, Connie, I'll tell you this community, Pasiro, chose chickens. So to build livelihoods in a context where, like I said, men traditionally owned all the assets, the young Ott helped us to recognize that in this part of the town, part of the country, men disregard chickens. Chickens are women's food. Men would never get caught dead eating a chicken. Beef is only for men. They don't want anything to do with chickens. And so our partners and the community said, hey, if we give these women chickens, the men aren't going to want to have anything to do with it. They'll have all the say in how to raise them, what to do with them. They'll be able to give their eggs to the kids. And so each woman received four hens and a rooster, and then training on how to raise the chickens and take care of them. So the eggs meant protein at home, protein for their kids, but also extra eggs that they could sell for a little bit of money, and also chickens. They could raise extra chickens and sell the chickens as additional income. So as their incomes grew and the women started making more money, and we helped them with this concept called a Village Savings and Loan Association. The women call it table banking because they have this box they put on the table, and each woman can invest in the savings bank, and it's 50 shillings as a share, which I checked today, that's about 40 cents. So as a woman has 40 cents worth, she can put it into this savings bank. And then as women need to borrow, for school supplies, or maybe they have to borrow because they want to build a new coop for their chickens, they can borrow against the savings bank and pay back the bank interest. And so the savings bank continues to grow. And the results are remarkable. These women invested enough over time that not only did they have enough money to raise their own household chickens, but they began they decided to kind of come together and start a cooperative chicken farm. And so Vivian's group now runs this cooperative that they have their chickens at home, but they come together to this one place and they have extra chickens that they raise, and they're selling them to the local school for their meal that they provide during the day, and to nearby businesses. So they went from taking care of their families to now being small business owners. And then through their table banking, they continue to save, they continue to invest. And shortly before we visited, they had purchased the 2 acres of land that they were working on. And Vivian said to us that she realized that their work could be totally taken away at any moment if they didn't own the land. And so they decided they were going to save up and they were going to purchase that land. So they went from struggling to make ends meet to providing for their families to being small business owners and now landowners. Truly amazing. Um, Go to the next slide, Connie. So, just a few weeks before we visited, the women planted a demonstration garden on their land. And you can see on the left, Vivian is showing us one of the plots. Um, on this demonstration garden, they have different ways of planting, depending on how what kind of land you have. And women from all the neighboring villages will come and learn how to grow kale, tomatoes, and spinach back home on their own land, at their own families' fields. And so these women here run this um, cooperative garden, and the group rotates daily care for the garden. So 2 women every day come and they take care of the chickens and they take care of the garden and they oversee the land. A little while ago, they said they were tired of having to also spend the night to look over the land. And so they recently hired a man to be the nighttime overseer and protector of their shared investment. So small business owners, landowners, and now employers of men, which is huge for this traditionally male focused culture. So what began with water and a few chickens has now become this hub of learning and leadership. Vivian and the 28 women of her women's group are a real light to hope for others. That they're guiding and inspiring women from all other villages to come and learn, and those women are following their example. In fact, when we came for this presentation, there were women who came from all other communities just to see what it was all about. Um, Let me see. I think I have some pictures of the garden next. Yeah, do you want to go to the next slide, Connie? And I'll just show you a couple of the pictures. So they have all these different ways of planting depending on how much water you have and if your land is sloped or if it's flat. And so this is when they had just planted it, and they have keyhole garden. They have a mounding garden. They have this strip garden. So people can come and they'll say, okay, well, this is what my property looks like. And the women will show them, well, here's the best way to plant your vegetables. As we were leaving um, that day, Vivian shared with us, she said, let me pull up her quote. She said, thank you. She said, now we are healthy and clean because of how we were trained. And I thought that was really something, that we are healthy and clean. And I thought about how they were just so able to just embrace us, that they were proud of who they were proud of what they had done, they were proud of how healthy and clean and how vibrant they were. It was really quite amazing. And then last week, uh, less than 2 months later, I got a photo in my inbox. And Connie, if you can show the next slide. This is Vivian in that garden, surrounded by green, verdant life. This is less than 2 months from when I was there. So, like the community, it's green, it's healthy. It all started with some chickens and training. I did the math. It's like maybe $100 per woman to get started, and I'm just in awe of how an investment of just a small amount started a transformation that is so big. But I mean, you all know this, that's what happens when you invest in determined, hardworking people. S- so, Connie, you can go to the next slide. As I mentioned, we've been working in Pesiro since 2011, and we started there because of the level of need in that community and the level of the lack of access to resources. But in many places throughout the continent, it's a disaster that dictates working alongside a community. A lot of times people will ask me, how does CWS decide where to go? And in the context of CWS Africa, many times um, it's because the community has suffered a natural disaster. And in many of the places we visited on my trip to Kenya, there were multiple disasters. Like one year it's a flood, then a drought. In this other community we visited in the Tana River region, they were still displaced by massive floods from the year before. So the pictures you see here are their living arrangements right now. They're internally displaced. So we start when there's a disaster, we start by engaging to meet immediate human needs. Like, do you have water? Do you have food? Do you have a clean place to use the restroom? Like, do you have a latrine? But we're always doing that with an eye towards the long-term recovery and the sustainable and justice-focused programs like you saw with the women in Pasirwa. Because our goal is not just to meet that human need, but also to foster resilience and stability. And so each community decides on what their best next step is. And with your support, with donors like you supporting us, we can walk alongside them until they can walk on their own. So in Pasiro, it was chickens. So and Connie, you can go to the next slide. We've done this same kind of model. We start with water, and then we say livelihoods. Once you have to have water first. Once you have water, then we say, okay, what is your livelihood? So Pasiro and in these other communities we visited, they picked chickens. You know, chickens was um, what they chose as the most appropriate thing for their community. Connie, you can go to the next slide. In some places, it's beehives where they can raise honey and eat the honey, but also sell the surplus. And in this community, we helped them build these new types of hives that hang up in the trees, and that way they can avoid the floods. So locations are prone to seasonal floods that would then wash out all their crops and wash out all their livestock. But being able to use pulleys, the women can lift those beehives up into the trees and protect them from the floods. You can go to the next slide. Um, there's another honey, and this is how they sell the honey. And this, you can see it's in a recycled water bottle. It was delicious. We all tasted this honey, and it was some of the best I've ever had. Next slide. Some places, after water, the request would be, hey, now that our kids can go to school, we need help with the school. And so sometimes it's a school building, sometimes it's desks. In many places, the communities ask for help to build dormitories for the girls. That keeps them safe during the week. They can stay at the school and they don't have to risk abuse as they're walking back and forth long distances to schools during the week. Um, in some places, after water, the next thing is sanitation. So, Connie, you can do the next slide. This is a latrine. Latrines are clean hygiene, health and hygiene for all the people in a community, but it's also protection for girls. Going out into the bushes to relieve yourself puts you at risk of being abused or attacked. And also, if you don't have a place to go to the restroom at school when you're menstruating, you typically don't go to school. So having a latrine keeps girls in school um, all the time for the entire month. Next slide. Some places the community says what we really need is some goats. And so these are some of the communities I met that had chosen goat herding as their livelihood. They can use the milk to drink, they can make cheese. We try to give a pregnant goat when we give a goat so that that offspring could be sold to another family, which then provides another type of income. So whether it's goats or bees or chickens, in all of these locations, it's always hope. It's always joy and potential. Next slide. So that's my examples of where hope is springing up in Kenya. I was going to share a couple other updates about the continent and places where we're expanding our work. But before I moved on to any of those others, I wanted to see if anybody had any questions about the Kenya part that I shared or how we do what we do or any reflections on that. So if I don't know, Heather, can people unmute themselves or?
Yes, they can.
Okay, so yeah, so if you had a question or a comment or anything, and I'll just pause for a second if you wanted to ask any of those. If not, we can pop back into the slideshow and talk about a couple of other expansions in Kenya and Africa. Okay. Did you have something, Heather?
Well, I mean, I can say that a year before Mary Catherine, I was in the Tana River Valley and with the same displaced people. And I got the honor and the privilege of actually um, doing a distribution of much needed food. The flooding had just happened 2 months before we were there. And what was really amazing about it was the resilience of the people, but also the ingenuity that they had. Like the women um, had carried their chickens in the big water jerry cans. They had sliced them, stuck their chickens in, and floated their chickens to safety.
Mm.
So, and then they were also very amazed that they were able to redo their beehives, and the bees actually came back.
Yeah. Yeah, I was amazed. I asked about the beehives that we visited, and I said, what's the CWS investment and what do they do? And they said, well, we provide the hives and the training, but the people go out and find the bees
Mhm.
and populate the hives, which I don't obviously I don't know much about.
And we also do. well, I traveled in a vehicle with him, so I got a lot of information on it. But we do have a young man that goes around there too and um, does vaccinations for the chickens
Mhm.
and education uh, on incubators that do not require any kind of power.
Oh, yeah, great. Yeah. One of the ladies that was in one of the pictures that we talked to, they had just kind of cashed out their savings bank. And I asked them, so what did you buy? And so they typically every now and then they'll cash out the bank, and based on how many shares you get your payment, and then they start over so new women can join with equity. And so one woman spent her money on an incubator so that she could ramp up her chicken producing. Another woman bought an electric stove, which I was like, interesting. And because it made her life easier, and now she had food to be able to feed her kids and grandkids. So that was great. They weren't having a me day at the spa, they were reinvesting in their businesses and their families.
Yeah, it is something that I'll just never forget being able to visit those programs and meet those people.
Jane, were you going to say something?
Um, I want to forgive my ignorance, but maybe you could give an example. For instance, you said we provide a pregnant goat or we provide bees in a thing. What actually happens? Does Church World Service pay somebody to go there and do that? Or I admit my ignorance, but I'm interested in kind of what the process is, just a little bit.
That's a great question. So we have staff who are from Kenya who visit the programs, but I would say the strength of our work is working with those partners. So, for example, I said Young Ot. We partner with this group called Young Ot, and they have a bee expert who's on their board. They have and through them we might hire a veterinarian to help, or like CWS doesn't have, we don't have on staff someone who knows how to grow all those gardens in all those different ways. So we would hire a local person who does know that to then provide that training. For the livestock, it's similar. Try to buy it as close to the community as possible. So if that community said we want chickens, then we try to find who has enough chickens as close to that community that we could purchase from them. Because then you have an extra benefit. You're
And
helping another community similar to that by buying their chickens to provide to the other community.
and we is a staff person in Kenya, and this other organization is a Kenyan organization.
Yes,
Okay.
it's yeah, fully there. In fact, they were so helpful because the people in these communities don't speak Swahili, they don't speak English, they speak their local dialect. And so our local partner is from that community and they speak the local dialect. So they're an excellent support. Our team, like Mary Obiero, who's based in Nairobi, she might go to Pasiro to work with them, but she's hand in glove with the local, it's like a local nonprofit in that community that we've been partnering with for many years.
And we would give them money,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah, and so I mean sometimes it's money and sometimes it's technical expertise. Like we are the ones who know how to build the sand dams. So we would CWS staff would be in the community saying, okay, here's the good space. You need a side wall. You need this many boulders and this much sand. Go find the boulders and bring them back, and we'll show you how to build it. So in that case, it is CWS staff that are doing that.
Thank you. I
Yeah,
just wanted kind of a glimpse of
yeah, it's
what the
great.
process.
And the thing too, Jane, with sand dams, what I learned because I got to see one that was only like maybe a month old, but then I got to go see the original one, which was really cool. That one produces so much water that they share it with their schools now.
Mhm.
But the coolest thing about a sand dam is it's so ecologically um, sound that you
Mm.
can have more than one on a river. So if there's somebody a mile down that river, a community, and they need that, then you can have another sand dam on the same, you can put multiple sand dams on a river.
Wonderful. Thanks.
Jane, I used to work with Church World Service in the regional office in Pittsburgh. And when I went to West Africa, there was one office of Church World Service staff serving all of West Africa. And so we had partner agencies in every country.
Mhm.
And the partner agencies were the local people, but CWS had so few staff. We were not trying to do the whole thing ourselves. We were trying to always work with the partners.
Yeah. And the good thing about that is that you have culturally appropriate responses to the problems. It's not the city people coming in and telling you what, we wouldn't have known that the people in Pasira, the men, don't want to have anything to do with chickens. Like our local partner was able to say, "Hey, let's talk about chickens as a viable livelihood." Yeah, and that's only
Of
because
course,
they're
I don't want to touch any.
yeah. Well, I did want to tell, a lot of time recently we hear mostly about things contracting and agencies getting smaller. So, Connie, if you could pull the slideshow back up, I did want to talk about two places where we are expanding, where we are meeting new needs on the continent of Africa. Just as another sign of hope. So the first is who did I put first? The DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo. So while I was actually in Kenya, one of our colleagues, Michael, was in the DRC, and we were getting text messages back and forth from him. He was there setting up an office, finding our local partners that we're going to partner with, to your point, Patrick, and getting registered in the country to be able to do work. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, there is ongoing conflict that has been getting worse and has um, other agencies pull out. It's just the conflict is growing, and so it's displaced hundreds of thousands of people, leaving families without access to food, safety, or stability. Michael was texting us saying, when you send someone, send coffee, send food. I can't find anything to eat. I can't find any coffee to drink. I mean, this is someone who had money to spend, and there was nothing there. My colleague Scott, who oversees all of Africa, he said kids were putting salt on leaves and just trying to get by sucking on leaves that were salted. Um, so to meet these urgent needs, Church World Service has established a new office in Kananga, and it's focused on supporting the most vulnerable communities. The Our initial response is first thing we did, and you can see in this picture on the bottom right, is conducting like baseline assessments for more than 1,500 households, and we partnered with local leaders to identify who had the most urgent needs. And as a result, we were able to provide direct cash assistance and for food and distributing seed packets, sort of like what Heather was doing when she was there, providing like actual food and oil and um, food to eat today, but then also seed packets to nearly almost 10,000 people, so that they could start to grow food and have and build some long-term food security. This, like I said before, we start with an emergency, but we're always looking to the future and how we respond and to do it with dignity. And so we're preparing to launch a 3-year initiative. We call it the Triple Nexus, that combines emergency aid with development and peace building. So recognizing that uh, when people have the basic needs met, then they can start to think about how to foster peace and stability and equity in their communities. There and beyond, we're committed to walking alongside families in crisis and really hope for them to have a better future. So it's one place where we're growing. And then, Connie, next slide. We've also expanded our work in Uganda to support refugees in Uganda. Um, if any of you have ever been third world, you might know, but for those who haven't, that circle in the top, that's the bottom of a latrine. That's where you put your feet on the little feet things and you squat and you relieve yourself into that little hole. So we're building latrines. Now that refugee resettlement has been frozen by our administration, there is no pathway for refugees in these camps in Uganda to ever get to the United States. So in Uganda's Nakavale, I think is how you pronounce it, Nakavale Refugee Settlement, uh, which is home to almost 200,000 people from the DRC, but also Burundi, Somalia, Ethiopia. The families in these refugee camps are facing massive challenges every day: overcrowded latrines, limited access to clean water, unsafe conditions for women and girls. And so we've been partnering with the refugee communities to change that, to build latrines like you see here. Also installing hand washing stations and large water tanks so that we can do emergency storage and also just to distribute water. We're also handing out reusable menstrual hygiene kits and doing training to support women's health and confidence. So in these camps, these simple but life-changing solutions restore dignity or support that dignity that all people have and should be honored. It reduces the spread of disease so that it provides better health and it helps families feel safe and supported. We've also, to kind of to your question, Jane, like how does the money get there? One of the other things we're doing is we're hiring refugees to do some of the work that we need to do. So to build the latrines or to install the hand washing stations. So that creates a job and a sense of ownership in the process. So instead of us coming in and doing it ourselves, that's another way of having a ripple effect. So, whether you're in a refugee camp or you're in your own community or you've been the survivor of a disaster, we believe everyone deserves clean water, a safe home, and the opportunity to thrive. And so these are two places where, thanks to supporters like you, we've been able to meet that human need with ways that are unique to CWS. So I'll just kind of, if you can do the next slide, I'd love to say thank you. And these are some folks from my trip who had just gotten their sand dam, first phase of their sand dam built, and they were very grateful and thankful. And so we're waving thank you. If you've been following us, you know that we've had massive cuts to our federal funding. 80% of our budget slashed. And so we can only do this great work because of individuals and congregations and crop hunger walkers who support us. So it's those of you on this call and people like you that are why we can see these stories of hope. Thank you for showing up for our brothers and sisters in Kenya and Uganda and the DRC, but also in Jamaica and Haiti and Eastern Europe. We continue to know that we can see hope, we can create transformation, and the reason we know that as CWS is because we know we have you walking alongside us. So my colleague Mary Obiero said that for every dollar that's donated to CWS Africa, they can create $10 of impact. So know that your money is making a huge difference here.
We in Kansas City worked extra hard to grow our crop walk this year because of the losses, and it did grow. I mean, it wasn't as big as we wanted it to be, but it's a strong growth.
That's
Do you know about Dr. Chan?
Yes, and Dr. Chan was on this trip with us.
Oh, really? Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, he's from Kansas City. He's a wonderful man, and yeah, we're very proud of him and what he does.
Yeah,
So,
he's also, since you brought him up, I'll put in a plug for our 80th anniversary next year. He is going to be leading a Grand Canyon trek for CWS. Not as hard as what he usually does, but still,
oh,
so halfway down the canyon. So if you know any folks who want to do an epic 3-day justice trek, he'd love to have. We have room for about 15 people to do that, but.
he's amazing, and they raise a lot. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for going. Can I ask one more quick question?
Yeah.
Are we in Angola?
No.
Okay.
We serve people from Angola that have come to our different programs who are displaced refugees, but we don't have programming in Angola right now.
The United Church of Christ has there, and I've been there 3 times, so it's yeah. I was just interested, but thanks for all that you all do. It's important. It's vital.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and we have a few minutes, so if anybody had any questions about any other parts of our program or wanted an update on anything else that we're doing, we're not just in Africa, so I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has any. And what did Lonnie, great. No? Good. Well, if you do have questions along the way, if there's if you want to know if we're in Angola, or if you hear, if you see a disaster, like we just had Hurricane Melissa, if you want to know what we're doing, feel free to reach out to me or to Connie. We'd love to be able to answer your questions. Yeah, and we're so excited to be able to spend this time with you and to say thank you personally. And just like we want to be a light to hope in the world, you are a light to hope for us and for many. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Well, have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Connie.
You too, Pat.
We were in new staff orientation together in Elko.
Just a couple years ago.
Yeah,
Right.
just last week.
Yep, exactly.
Well, welcome
Okay.
aboard. Glad to have
Yes.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.